Sister called me a burden to our family after she stole my money to get out of a financial hole, so I forced her to return the money and filed a lawsuit against her. Family dinners at my parents' house were always a chaotic mix of opinions, laughter, and the occasional tension. That Sunday, the air felt heavier than usual, but I chalked it up to nothing more than my own discomfort. My sister, Jessica, sat across the table, uncharacteristically quiet, her boyfriend, Kyle, by her side. Jessica had always been the more outspoken one, so her subdued demeanor was a rare sight. I noticed that she'd recently gotten a new phone, top of the line, better than anything I could afford. It struck me as odd, since she'd been complaining about financial difficulties just a few weeks ago. I had no idea that this dinner would turn into a public spectacle. We were halfway through the meal when Kyle, oblivious to the undercurrents, casually asked, "Hey, has anyone seen Jessica's old cell phone? She won't shut up about this new one." The table fell silent, forks floating in the air. Jessica looked up, her face instantly flushed. I felt my stomach twist instinct, I guess. She laughed, a little too casually, and said, "Oh yeah? It's gone. I got rid of it. Had to upgrade, you know?" Mom raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were broke." Jessica shrugged. "It's taken care of now. Things are better." Kyle wasn't done. "Wait. Wasn't it just last week that you said you were drowning in debt? What changed?" Jessica's face hardened. She looked right at me and said, "Well, I found a solution." It took me a second to process the sharpness of her tone. "What does that mean?" I asked, feeling a knot form in my chest. She smiled, like it was all a joke. "I mean, you didn't use the money in your savings account, did you? That car you're saving for can wait." The room froze. My money. My savings. $15,000 I'd worked overtime for, every penny of it earmarked for my dream car. "What are you talking about?" I demanded. My voice wasn't loud, but I could feel the tension radiating from me. Jessica rolled her eyes as if I was the unreasonable one. "Look, it's not a big deal. I took care of it. You should have helped me when I asked, but no, you couldn't spare anything. So I borrowed it. Call it family redistribution or whatever. You'll survive." I could barely think. Mom gasped and Dad mumbled something under his breath. Kyle looked horrified, like he wanted to sink into his chair. I stared at Jessica, trying to comprehend her audacity. "You stole $15,000 from me and you think it's no big deal?" She didn't even flinch. "You're always whining about how hard you work, but you don't even contribute to the family. You're just a burden." The words hit me like a slap, but the anger boiling inside me kept me calm. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not this time. And that's how it all started. The room erupted into chaos. My mom started screaming, my dad demanded that Jessica explain herself, and Kyle just stared at his plate, probably wishing he was somewhere else. Meanwhile, I sat there, fists clenched, staring at Jessica like I didn't even know who she was. She didn't even look sorry. If anything, she looked annoyed, like we were making too big a deal out of her stealing 15 grand. I could feel my blood boiling, but I kept my voice calm when I spoke again. "You stole my money to pay off your debts and buy a new phone? Seriously?" Jessica shrugged like it was obvious. "Yeah, I had bills piling up. You don't understand the pressure I was under. And by the way, I've done more for this family than you ever did." That was it. I stood up so fast my chair scraped the floor loudly. "I can't believe you're trying to justify this. You're crazy if you think I'm just going to let this go." She crossed her arms. "What are you going to do? Cry about it? Sue me?" Everyone fell silent again. Jessica smiled, but I could see a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. She didn't think I was actually going to do anything. I turned to my parents. "You knew about this?" My mom looked horrified. "Of course not. Jessica, how could you?" Jessica scoffed. "Oh, don't act so shocked, Mom. He's always complaining about how much he's saving, like it's some great accomplishment. I just used it for something important." My father stood up and pointed at her. Important? A new phone is important? Jessica, that's stealing. She rolled her eyes again. Fine. Whatever. I'll pay him back. I laughed bitterly. With what? You were broke a week ago, Jess. Do you even have a plan, or are you just going to wait for me to save up again and take that too? Jessica didn't answer. She just looked away, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt flicker across her face. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by the same arrogant smirk. Kyle, who hadn't said a word during the whole thing, finally spoke up. Maybe we should go. This is getting kind of intense. Jessica grabbed her purse. Yeah, good idea. This whole thing is ridiculous. She turned to me as she got up. You're so dramatic. I'll get you your money eventually, okay? Chill out. Before I could say another word, she and Kyle walked out. The front door slammed, and I was left standing there, seething. My mom tried to calm me down, saying that Jessica would come to her senses, but I wasn't buying it. She'd stolen from me, humiliated me, and then had the nerve to call me a burden. If she thought I was going to let that go, she was dead wrong. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to wait for Jessica to come to her senses. I was going to get my money back one way or another, even if it meant taking her to court. I spent the entire night seething. Sleep wasn't an option. My mind kept circling back to Jessica's smug face, her casual admission, and the way she'd brushed it all off like I was the unreasonable one. By morning, I'd made up my mind. If Jessica was going to pretend that stealing wasn't a big deal, I was going to make it one. The first thing I did was go through my bank accounts. Sure enough, $15,000 was gone. The transfer wasn't even subtle, it had gone straight into Jessica's account. She didn't even try to hide it. I saved screenshots of everything and started making a list of expenses tied to the money, car payments I couldn't make, bills I had to juggle, the savings goal I'd been working toward for months. Next, I called her. Hello? She answered, her tone casual, as if nothing had happened. We need to talk, I said. Now. Now what? She groaned. I didn't bother with pleasantries. You have two choices. Either you return every cent of my money today, or I'll take legal action. Your choice. She laughed. Really laughed. Oh, come on, you can't be serious. You're not going to sue your own sister. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? I'm dead serious, Jess. You have until the end of the day. After that, I'm filing a police report. Her tone became sharp. You're being dramatic. It's not like you're starving or homeless. You'll survive without a car for a while. Stop acting like this is the end of the world. I felt my anger rise again. It's not just about the money. It's about the fact that you stole from me and you don't even care. You think you're entitled to everything I worked for just because we're family. That's not how it works. Well, guess what? I don't have the money anymore. She snapped. What do you want me to do? Pull it out of thin air? It's gone. Deal with it. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. That afternoon I went to my parents' house. Mom answered the door, looking tired. Please tell me you didn't come here to fight, she said. I'm here to tell you I'm pressing charges, I replied. Mom's face fell. Pressing charges? Against your sister? Are you sure you want to do that? She made a mistake, but she didn't make a mistake. She made a choice, I interrupted. She's not sorry, and she has no intention of paying me back. If I let her get away with it once, what's to stop her from doing it again? My dad joined us in the living room and shook his head. I can't believe she would do such a thing. But maybe we can figure out a way to fix this without the police getting involved. I've already given her a chance, I said. She doesn't care. She thinks she's untouchable. Maybe this will wake her up. Mom started to say something else, but I cut her off. Look, I didn't come here to argue. I just thought you should know before it happens. That night I went to the police station and filed a report. As much as it hurt to take that step, I knew it was the right thing to do. Jessica had crossed the line, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and awkward conversations with family members who thought I was being too harsh. But I didn't care. Jessica had made her decision. Now it was time for her to face the consequences. Word spread quickly through the family, and the backlash began almost immediately. My phone was bombarded with calls and texts, some siding with me, others begging me to reconsider. Mom called first. I talked to Jessica. She's mad, but I think she understands that you're serious now. She said she'll try to come up with the money. She can tell the judge that. I replied. Mom sighed. Are you really going to take it that far? She's your sister. She's not acting like one, I said. Next up was my aunt, who had always been the unofficial family peacemaker. Honey, don't you think there's a better way to handle this? After all, family is all we've got. She stole $15,000 from me, Aunt Lisa. If she wasn't family, no one would even question it. Why should she get a pass just because we shared DNA? Jessica, of course, had her own take on things. She started texting me, not to apologize, but to shift the blame. You're such a hypocrite. You act like you're so perfect, but you're willing to ruin my life for money? Wow, suing your own sister. I guess blood doesn't mean anything to you. You're pathetic. Her boyfriend, Kyle, also chimed in. Hey man, I get that you're upset, but this is going too far. Jessica's under a lot of stress right now. Can't you cut her some slack? I ignored him. Kyle clearly didn't understand the gravity of the situation or didn't care. A few days later, Jessica made her boldest move yet. She showed up at my apartment. What do you want? I asked, standing in the doorway. She crossed her arms. I'm here to fix this. Let's talk like adults instead of you running to the cops. I let her in, keeping my distance. She flopped down on my couch like she owned the place and started her pitch. Look, I know I messed up. But you have to drop this lawsuit. It'll destroy the family. No, you destroyed the family when you stole from me. I shot back. The only way this ends is if you pay me back. All of it. She laughed bitterly. Do you even hear yourself? You act like a saint when all you do is complain about how hard your life is. You don't even contribute to the family. You're just a taker. That was the last straw. Get out, I said, pointing to the door. What? Get out of my apartment. Now. She stormed out, muttering under her breath, but I didn't care. Her words hurt, sure, but they only reinforced my decision. I wasn't going to back down, no matter how much pressure she or anyone else put on me. The legal process moved quickly after that. I gave the police all the evidence, bank statements, texts, and the timeline of her theft. They took it seriously, especially considering the amount of money involved. Within a week, Jessica was officially charged with theft. The look on her face when she was served the paperwork was priceless, or so I heard from Kyle, who called me to beg me to reconsider. She's looking at real jail time, man. Is that what you want? I didn't answer him directly. Maybe she should have thought about that before she stole from me. For the first time, it felt like Jessica was finally realizing that her actions had consequences. And I wasn't going to stop until I got back what was mine. Jessica's arrogance carried over to the courtroom. She pleaded not guilty, claiming the situation was just a family misunderstanding. Her lawyer argued that she had intended to pay me back, but the evidence was incontrovertible. My lawyer presented the bank record showing the transfer of $15,000 from my account to hers, and included texts in which she admitted to taking the money. The judge wasn't sympathetic. When Jessica finally spoke, she tried to portray herself as desperate, claiming that she didn't think it would hurt me this much. It sounded more like an excuse than an apology. The judge's decision came quickly. The evidence is clear. The defendant acted deliberately and without remorse. This court finds Jessica guilty of larceny. Jessica was sentenced to a year in jail and ordered to pay back the full $15,000 plus court costs. Her expression went from smug to stunned as the verdict sank in. As I was leaving the courthouse, Kyle approached me. "She's your sister. You could have handled this differently," he said. "So could she," I replied and walked away. Justice had been served, but it came at a high price. The aftermath of the trial was immediate and messy. Jessica's conviction sent shock waves through the family, and everyone seemed to have an opinion. Some relatives called to support me, saying I'd done the right thing. "She deserved it," said my cousin Lisa. "If she thought she could get away with it, she needs a reality check." Others weren't so kind. My aunt practically scolded me over the phone. "You didn't have to put her in jail. She's your sister. Couldn't you have just let her pay you back over time?" "What time?" I shot back. "She never planned on paying me back, and you know it." Conversations with my parents were the most difficult. Mom called almost every day, torn between anger at Jessica and guilt over the situation. "She's your sister," she kept saying. "She made a mistake, but it will stay with her forever. She'll learn from this," I replied. "She had plenty of chances to make it right, and she didn't." Dad didn't say much, but I could tell he was disappointed in Jessica for what she'd done, and maybe in me for letting it get this far. He'd mutter things like, "This family will never be the same," and then change the subject. Jessica herself didn't reach out. She'd made her position clear when she called me a burden at that dinner, and after the trial, she wasn't exactly in a position to talk. For the first time in a long time, I felt a strange calm. My money would eventually be returned through the restitution order, and Jessica would finally face the consequences of her actions. But it came at a price. The family was torn apart, and it didn't seem like things would ever be the same again. Part of me wondered if Jessica would ever truly understand why I did what I did, or if she'd just spend the next year resenting me even more. The months following Jessica's conviction were anything but peaceful. My parents were caught in the middle, desperately trying to salvage the family dynamic, but it was like trying to put shattered glass back together. Mom called me almost every week, alternating between guilt and frustration. "She's in jail and she's paying back the money," she said one night. "Isn't that enough for you? Can't we start to heal?" "She stole from me, Mom," I replied. "And not just money, she stole my trust. I'll consider forgiveness when I see real remorse." Dad, on the other hand, avoided the subject entirely. Whenever I visited their home, he kept the conversations short and neutral. Once, as I was leaving, he muttered, "This family will never be the same." I didn't respond, but his words stayed with me. Kyle was nowhere to be seen after Jessica went to prison. I didn't ask what happened between them, but I suspected that the stress of the trial and its aftermath had been too much for him. The extended family wasn't shy about sharing their opinions, though. At one barbecue Mom insisted on hosting. Uncle Jim cornered me near the grill. "Look, I understand why you're upset, but she's your sister. Family fights, sure, but jail? Come on. That's too far. She didn't just fight with me," I shot back. "She stole $15,000. If she wasn't my sister, no one would question that. Why does being family make it okay?" "It's not okay," he admitted, "but this could have been handled privately. You didn't have to drag her through the courts." "Privately?" I asked incredulously. "I gave her a chance, Jim. She didn't care. She called me a burden, for God's sake." He sighed and shook his head. "I just hope it was worth it." Conversations like this happened often. Some relatives avoided the subject altogether, but I could feel their judgment. Others quietly supported me, saying Jessica had crossed a line and needed to learn her lesson. "She's always been entitled," my cousin Lisa said during one of our conversations. "You did the right thing, even if nobody wants to admit it." The worst part was how alone I felt. I'd fought to get my money back and protect myself, but I'd torn the family apart in the process. Jessica hadn't just stolen money, she had stolen the peace we once had as a family. I didn't hate her, though. That was the strange part. I was angry, sure, but there were moments when I remembered the sister I'd grown up with, the one who'd sneak me extra cookies when we were kids or cover for me when I broke something. Those memories made it harder, not easier. Still, every time I wavered, I remembered that dinner, her smug admission, the way she dismissed my hard work, and the audacity to call me a burden. She'd burned the bridge, not me. Mom kept urging me to visit her in prison. "Maybe if the two of you just talked," she said one day, her voice trailing off. "I'll think about it." I lied, knowing I wasn't ready. The family wasn't the same, and I didn't know if it ever would be. But one thing was clear: I'd drawn my line, and for once, I wasn't the one crossing it. Months passed, and the tension in the family showed no signs of abating. Jessica served her time, and I slowly got my life back on track. The restitution payments began to come in small increments, each one a cold reminder of how far things had gone. Then one day, out of the blue, I received a letter from Jessica. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Her handwriting, usually neat and bold, was shaky. "Evan," it began, "I've had a lot of time to think about this. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I don't blame you. I didn't just steal your money, I betrayed you, and I made things worse by doubling down instead of admitting it. You didn't deserve any of this." I stopped reading for a moment, trying to process the unexpected sincerity. She continued, "I was angry at you, but mostly because it was easier than admitting I was wrong. Sitting here, I can't pretend anymore. You were right to stand up for yourself. I was selfish and I hurt you. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, but I had to say it." I read the letter twice, then folded it and set it aside. Her words felt genuine, but I didn't know what to do with them. A week later, Mom called. "Jessica wants to see you," she said carefully. "She says it's important." "I don't know, Mom," I replied. "What is there to say?" "Maybe it's not about saying anything," she said quietly. After a few days of wrestling with myself, I decided to go. Not for her, but for me. I needed to know if her apology was real or just another manipulation. When I arrived at the visiting area of the prison, Jessica looked different. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by a weariness I'd never seen before. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. I sat down, not sure how to begin. She spoke first. "I know I don't deserve your time, but I needed to see you. I needed to tell you face to face that I'm sorry. For everything." Her voice broke as she continued. "When I took your money, I thought it was the only way out. But it wasn't about surviving, it was about me being too proud to admit I screwed up. And when you confronted me, I lashed out because I hated myself for what I'd done." I didn't interrupt, letting her get it all out. "I know I can't undo the damage," she finally said. "But I want to make things right, no matter how long it takes. I just hope that one day you can see me as your sister again." For the first time in a long time, I saw a glimpse of the Jessica I used to know, the one who cared, who could admit when she was wrong. "I don't hate you," I said after a long pause. "But it's going to take time. A lot of it. This didn't just break my trust, it broke the family." "I know," she said. "I'll work to fix it. I promise." I left that day feeling lighter, though far from healed. Her apology didn't erase what she'd done, but it was a start. The road to forgiveness wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, I felt like it was possible. Jessica still had a long way to go, but at least she was taking the first steps. And that was enough for me.